Hey guys, what's up? PipSnipers here, back for another update. Let's take a look at XRP over here on the 4-hour time frame. And this is the Wyckoff accumulation schematic that I wanted to show you guys. As you guys can see, once we go below the range, and in this case, we went below the range, and think about how long these range lows have been holding here. Like if we take a look here at the time, just as it topped right back here on December 23rd to these lows just before we had manipulation below the range, like before we had this move right here. This is 121 days, so about 4 months of consolidation, and every single time we come down to the support, we pop off, right? Every single time. But every single time we come up, there's almost like there's a concerted effort to keep the price down, right? Every time we go up, we get knocked back down, and you guys can see that the reason for that is so the composite operator, or in other words, the hidden hand, can accumulate right over here as the market heads into fear. And that was a little bit over a week of fear. Let me see here on the weekly time frame. You guys can see that we had about almost 2 weeks of fear, because you had this weekly candle closing below the psychological support, and then you had this weekly candle actually taking out these lows and having a move below the 200-day moving average, right? So it's this candle right here. You had a move below psychological support. You see this was your psychological support. And then the candle after that took out these lows. And then you had a move below the 200-day moving average. But if you just waited for the week to end, we could see here that it closed back into the range. Next week was a doji. The week after that was a bullish engulfing. And now we have another doji here. So there is a possibility that we continue to grind up here and have continuation up, but it would be more like a rounded bottom. It would be kind of like a slow grind up with the possibility of seeing wicks to the downside. And what do I mean by wicks to the downside? When we go on the 4-hour time frame here, like I was saying in yesterday's video, when you take a fib from this swing high over here on April 13th down to this low on April 16th, we can see that we've hit the 123.6 to 138.2% fib. And the reason that's important is because this could be a B wave within a ABC correction, where you have a 3-wave move down, a 3-wave move up, and then a 5-wave move to the downside. And this 5-wave move would come down below $2.03, tag the 200-day moving average, tag this psychological support that we've been talking about, and also the 38.2% fib. Okay, so when we take a fib from the low up to this high point, it would come down, sorry, the 50% fib at around $1.98 to $1.95. Okay, however, if we are able to get above $2.33, then it's very likely that we're already within our wave 3 to the upside, because you could say that this is a wave 1, and then you have an ABC down for your wave 2 to just solidify this level as support, because we haven't really come down to it yet. I mean, we came down to it over here like this, but I wouldn't consider that a strong back test, right? It could be that could be the low, but it would only be confirmed by a move above it $2.33. Otherwise, this is your ABC down for your wave 2, and then we blast off. From there, for expansion above the range. Okay, now just remember that we've gone down over 52% from the highs. But something that a lot of people are forgetting is that we've been doing this whole structure on the 2021 highs. Like, look at the daily time frame here, guys. I'll show you guys. You see, these are the 2021 highs. We wicked below it, but you can see that we're just consolidating above it. Do you guys see? And we can clearly see a 5-wave move here. This is your 5-wave move. Now, all we're doing is trying to find the 5th wave targets. Remember I said in yesterday's video, there's 3 ways you can find wave 5 targets. One of them being taking a fib from the top of wave 3 down to the bottom of your expected wave 4, taking a trend-based fib from the bottom of wave 1 to the top of 3 and down to 4, or just simply taking a fib from the previous all-time high, which was around 330 in 2018, down to the low in 2020. Okay, so that's all we're doing here. And something I've noticed in crypto is that the price likes to come up above the 1.618. I've actually never seen, maybe a couple times, but I've never seen price stall out at the 1.618 in crypto. It always goes to around 1.702, 1.786. And this 1.786 is the inverse of the 786, for those that didn't know. And like I say in pretty much all my videos, the 786, or most of my videos, the 786 is usually where the market has inflection points. So just the inverse of that would be 476 when we take a regular fib to this. Okay, now if you want a value higher than the 4.236 extension, you can also use the 4.618, but I wouldn't go above that level. Okay, and then we can also use the trend-based fib for confluence. Okay, there you go. And what I've noticed is that the price within a wave 5 blow off top usually goes above the 4.236 extension and overshoots it. Like if we go back here on XRP, back in 2017, you guys can see that when you took a fib from the last correction before we had the final push to the upside, the 4.236 was at $1.24, and it had a %147% deviation. Okay, so it's likely we're going to see that deviation, and we're going to go towards our higher targets, which would be sitting at around $11 to $14. So let's use these trend-based fib here. Okay. So everything is looking good here on XRP. I want to see how the stock market opens. If you guys haven't seen my stock market video, please go ahead and take a look at that. Pretty bullish. I do think that we had a piercing line reversal candlestick or pattern on the weekly time frame, and it's currently playing out. So you guys can check that out. I think that the market is going to make a rebound here, but let's not rule out the possibility of more chop before we have continuation higher, right? So just be retesting this bottom range here. We can also take a look at XRP dominance. And before I go to XRP dominance, I also wanted to point out that this is what's called your creek. So you see how you're creaking downwards? Very slow grind, but it's still a compression-like pattern, right? And then usually with your creek, you're going to have price stall out sideways, and you're going to have a lot of attempts at trying to break out of the range. In this example, we tried to break out 3 times, and we failed, right? Composite operator doesn't want the price to break out of here because they want to drive the price below psychological support. And that would be this move right here. This move. Now we're above that level, and we're back into the range. So chop around here, it would make sense, right? It would make sense before we have continuation. So just stay patient, because I do think that we're going to have continuation to around 11 to 14 buck. Something I also notice is that when you take out the MACD on the 3-day, like the MACD on the 3-day is turning up here. Do you guys see that? Pretty bullish. Okay. And yeah, let's take a look at BTC DOM. Or sorry, XRP DOM. Let's see here. It may come down to the 200-day and then to retest these lows. And you may even wick under it, just like the XRP USD pair did. This actually looks like the same structure as XRP USD. It just looks like a little bit behind. So we may do this, and then you may have continuation like that. So this would be your wave 1, 2, your 3rd, 4th, and then 5th wave to the upside. So XRP may continue to consolidate here, but once she's done consolidating, then we're going to see some fireworks. What we can also do is, and something I've also noticed here, if we look, it's XRP dominance is holding above these equal highs here in 2021 and 2023. Do you guys see that? And this was your spring. So you had your accumulation. This is where all of the retail accumulate. You have your spring. You have your your manipulation. So this is your accumulation, manipulation, or your spring, and then you have distribution. But we're missing the 5th wave of that distribution structure. See, we only have 4 waves here. 1, 2, 3, 4. Well, we're missing the 5th one. And then if we go on the 3-day time frame, it would likely just come up to this supply. So once XRP gets up to this level, that's when you'd want to be very cautious. Like around this level right here. Okay, and then what you can also do is take a fib from this drop-off point down to the low of our manipulation. And you can see that the 4.236 extension and 4.618 is around that supply zone. Okay, so we're likely to overshoot it a bit, overshoot it, and then come down again, back down to demand. Okay, very simple chart. Okay, hope you guys enjoyed the video today. Just wanted to make this video to show you, if you're an XRP holder, there's nothing really to worry about, as we're just doing Wyckoff accumulation or Wyckoff reaccumulation. We're still we've been consolidating about 147 days on the 2021 highs. We wicked below the 200-day moving average, but we never had a weekly close below it. And as long as we stay below $2.33 on the small time frame, then there is a possibility of a flush down to around $1.95 to backtest the 200-day moving average, solidify that range as support before we have continuation. But remember, if you go below the range, like if you come back below the bottom end of the range, which would be right here at $2 on the 3-day or even the weekly, then that would invalidate our bullish bias, and then we would have to reevaluate. But so far it's holding well. So yeah, I just wanted to make this video. Hope you guys enjoyed. Peace out. Take it easy. See you guys in the next one.